I have a motion and a support that we authorize Katie to sign the MERS Healthcare Savings Program Participation Agreement. Any further discussion, questions? And do we need a roll call on this too?
No, that was not a resolution.
Okay. So all in favor of approval of the participation agreement, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It is approved. Okay, is there any other new business that needs to come before the road commission?
The next page.
Next page.
Oh,
Back, maybe, on the back of yours, no? You want my second page?
The township contract?
Oh, you found it, there you go.
okay. Township contracts, we wouldn't wanna miss these,
No,
especially the one with Reading Township. Bob,
Yeah,
sure wish you'd get back here. I can't handle all this paper.
I knew one at least.
that's gonna be our rates, there you go.
Okay, it looks like we have 4 contracts in total.
Yep.
Two for reading, one for the still water.
Need a motion?
Is he ready yet?
So I guess my question is, do we wanna do one motion for all of the contracts? We can do that. I think we've done that before.
I move we adopt the 2024 township road contracts as presented.
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion from Mark and a support from Mike to approve the 2024 township road contracts. Could be with Reading Township, Litchfield Township, and Allen Township. Any questions or discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion is approved. So now we start to sign. Well, here. Yeah, get a couple, go.
Litchfield Allen. Number. Those moved over here.
Yeah.
Want these here, Katie?
Yeah, that would be fine.
Okay. So this cost sharing policy, that's for info,
That's just your guys' copy,
okay,
that you approved that last time.
all right? So I have, I guess, one item under new business, we've already talked about the new trucks. The other thing I wanted to bring up, Bob, something that I think would be good for members of the road commission is this, you know, and I'm not asking you to do this immediately, but sometime within the next month or 6 weeks, I'd like to see a list of the projects on the primary roads that are planned for 2024 and include a projected dollar amount. You know, let's, I mean, we know, for example, we're gonna do 2 miles of Camden Road, in a dollar amount. And the territorial road bridges in a dollar amount. And we know we gotta do something on Bankers Road, and a projected dollar amount. And there's a number of others around the county that,
Yeah, we've got a list of paper patching
Yeah.
and stuff that
Yeah.
we intend to try to do.
so I think it'd be good if you could come up with a list that you could provide to all of the board members sometime within the next month to 6 weeks.
Okay.
Um,
But then we should have all the township contracts done, I think that it can be a all-encompassing.
Yeah.
Cause that'll show you what our portion of the contracts are gonna be too.
I mean, I realize to demand this in 2 weeks is not gonna happen, you know. You got other things that are more important than that in the next 2-3 weeks to get these contracts all out to the townships. So, anybody else have any new business to bring up? Bob, you got anything?
I just wanted to tell Bob that, the MDOT contracts that are e-signed, I just got a confirmation today that all of them have been signed.
All right,
Okay.
good deal. Thank you.
I have a couple of questions of the manager.
Sure, go ahead.
At one of my township meetings, it was brought up during the, cold snap we had and that blowing snow, we had a lot of ice on US 12, plus other places, but there was questions why there wasn't, or didn't appear to be any, gravel was laid down to help, help mitigate the slipperiness on US 12. Was that the case, or what was
We
it?
will put gravel down.
I thought we used to mix gravel with salt.
What about
Same.
sand?
Excuse me, okay, all right, there we go, I used the wrong, they said gravel, I went with it, okay, sand, excuse me.
Normally MDOT does straight salt. It could be done, but it's very minimal that a sand salt helps. And
I thought Hillsdale County used to, automatically put sand in with their salt and spread.
not on state road lines.
Not on, we never did that on state roads,
Running on the county roads.
we only do it on county roads.
And even then, it's probably just certain ones. I mean, your primaries are probably still should be getting mostly straight salt. Sand will help a little bit, it doesn't mitigate ice. Ice is the worst thing we can have out there. But
So what do we do to mitigate ice in that case when the salt's not working because it's too cold? What do we do to mitigate the slipperiness of that road?
very little, to be honest with you. They could put some sand salt mix out there, I guess, if we looked at it that way, but, like you said, gravel would just bounce off, you'd have rock chips in people's windshields and all that. Those temperatures and that ice at the same time is just, it's hard to deal with. Salt's not gonna work at that temperature. A little bit of sand will work for a little bit of grip, but then it gets blown off by traffic.
So in our UP counties who get that kind of weather more consistently, what do they do with those icy roads?
They scrape them.
And people just have to deal with the ice?
Mhm.
Oh. That answers my question, so I can pass it on the information.
We can do what we can, and you can pour some salt to it, and as the sun comes out and the temperatures rise, if it's still sitting there, it can work and help.
Right.
But really, when it comes to cold weather like that and ice, people just need to slow down.
Get rid of the salt. Helps.
Helps, right,
Some,
right. Well, I will say that I don't like to be out on those roads, but I was that time. And I will say I drove into Jackson County, and I will say their roads were in the same condition. So it's always nice that we're not worse than Jackson County. All right, and then I had a question about Mosierville Road. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bob, because it came from you,
Yes.
that you are concerned about some scraping on that gravel road. I thought it was in Scipio Township, so when I was at the Scipio board meeting, I asked if they had any comments about there being issues, and that township board had not heard of any comments about issues. So is it a different section of Mosierville Road?
Well, it could be, I can go back down there, just around the bend of the corner, I should say. I wanna say the intersection of, Row Road and.
Oh, that would be in
and
Scipio Township.
Yes, and if you, anyway, the continuance of going, once you have passed, you know, the blacktop and got, you know, for the gravel.
Right.
And from there, it was fairly bad once you got to the farthest curve around I wanna say, very first curve that you're gonna go through.
Okay.
And it was very rough, and the people down there that I had seen, that they were just building a house and getting it done. So they were very concerned about, why is it somebody hasn't come in, that's why I mentioned it to you.
Like I said, I mentioned it at Scipio Township, and they hadn't heard any complaints there, the board, so.
So that whole area is one of the projects that we gave to Scipio, or we're giving to
Yep.
Scipio, is to grade and de-berm and re-gravel all those little roads right in that area. Road, Pope, Mosierville.
Well, it was concerning because they had, around that particular area, it's so sandy, super sandy. So constructive, you know, that was an issue long ago, so I don't know how to address the sandy stuff. I didn't know that anyone's never said it at the township, but they didn't go. But I'll go and ask them, you know, come to the board.
Okay, that's all I had, thank you.
Any other board member? Okay, we then come to, another opportunity for public comment. Alan?
I just want to add a little bit to my Banker Road comment, mainly for the board, the people that don't get over on that side of the county. Last fall, Branch County did Fisher Road. Fisher Road becomes Banker when you get into our county. And so we've got this real nice road right now that comes into our road, Banker. I just thought about it. One of the ladies lives right there at Long Lake, or her cottage is at Long Lake. She comes from Indiana, and she wanted to know why we didn't do the rest of our road. And I informed her that that was a different county. But I just wanted the board to know that.
Yes.
Yeah, speaking of the, Bob said, you know, we're gonna have a new project manager, Heather Boyd. Possible I'd like to get her wages in the contract also, for her.
That'll be on that, the same sheet that I can.
Okay, all right, thank you.
The one I had a question was, what is the price tag on the spraying that's being done? And then, I guess one of the other, I don't know if it's very concerning with you folks at all, but, you know, as what the governor's saying about all these electric car issues, trying to push that on the agenda. The difficulty is that I don't know if it's gonna come out to the fire departments or not, but they're trying to introduce that new, way to put out the fire of one of those batteries, the blanket. Now the blanket just completely covers a car. And again, time frame, it just all it's doing, it's slowing, it's burned down is what I did understand it to be. So I don't know if you guys end up getting county road commission car or something of that nature, that might come up. And necessity, I don't know. you would.
I don't plan on getting one.
I hope you, I just pray you don't. I can't stand them. No, in a joking, in a very, light way, that since the governor's been pushing this, and I'm trying to get it out there, that we wanna have a special prosecutor put in place for anyone, that's driving through, within city limits. Anyone who drives within city limits, must keep their windows up, and we're looking for Mr. Brady to take this job. So you gotta keep your windows up if you pass gas. So we're wanting to have a special prosecutor for this. I thought I'd just have some fun.
You serious?
I just wanna have some fun today, folks. Have a little.
Tongue in cheek.
Tongue in cheek.
I know, I was trying to make it very serious.
Tongue in cheek.
Can we revisit the MDOT policy on salt and cold weather? Aren't we supposed to be using salt brine on the salt? Isn't that what the tanks on the trucks are for?
Yes, it'll help.
And
And that's not an issue. We can do that anytime.
Do we do it?
I don't believe we've even,
Haven't done it
activated
this
that
year.
pump yet. We've only got like 3 trucks that can handle it.
Do that before the storm.
Well, that's pre-treating, not,
Yeah, that'd help that ice, I think.
Use chloride. But you want your car to dissolve,
Use chloride.
use chloride.
well, and to be honest with you, in Jackson, we use 32% calcium chloride. That's
You
what's
do
in- that's
still
what's
use
in-
chloride?
Yes. That's what's in the tanks, and that's what, it sprays onto the salt as it goes into the spinner, and then the salt's already wet when it hits the ground. Helps it work.
Now, we use, at Adrian Garage, when I first went to work there, we used sand chloride mix in cold weather.
That's changed over the years, and every year they
And
seem
then
to,
at the end, when I left, they were using salt brine.
yeah, salt brine or chloride will do this, you're pre-wetting the salt. That's what you do, get the
Their
brine
big,
working.
their big thing on that was so it didn't bounce and run off
Yep,
the road.
bounce and scatter.
But salt brine did help with the ice, cause we had a truck equipped for just applying salt brine.
But those cold temperatures, you really gotta watch refreezing. So you
That's
melt
right.
it, refreezing, now it's
That's
slicker
right.
than,
Cause
It
if
was.
once you get it melted, then it turns into a river. And then the river freezes.
in reply to you, you're asking about the brush spray?
Yes.
The ballpark, cause I think they said it when they approved them, there we go. Exactly.
Not to exceed $55,000.
The brush spray is not to exceed 55,000, and the guardrail is $8,020.
$8,020. And again, I wanted to make a little pun, if you will. My concerns right now is that we have a zoologist that are being in attendance, that we're trying to now, finding out, what you call bird life, they're trying to manage and see where these, the ducks or geese or whatever. And that was very concerning to understand that this zoologist, there's 2 of them, one on the Bloomfield Hills, I think, and some is down here now living, and so we wanted to see what the brush is gonna do. So what we were asking before you even came on, was that we wanted the brush taken down by, the machines, and that's why we wanted, I think we ended up with 4, if I'm not mistaken. But that was a concern, because then again, they were saying, well, you're only going 2 miles an hour, you're gonna get, so much done in a day, but the spray was not that adequate. We were very against the spraying, and DuPont and the other companies showed up, and we had a good discussion about it. But what we're now looking at is asking that we get the cutting, if necessary, or can do, is get the cutting done first before we throw the spray on, because of the wildlife that we are now having to very much dearly look at, on the side of the road. That's what I'm just referring to.
Well, we're just starting to get there, because this is really just starting, to be honest with you. That's the whole intent, and that's even the applicator would like us to cut brush this year, and then like in this quadrant, and then next year when we're cutting this quadrant, they're spraying this quadrant.
Oh,
And so it'll always be like one behind, and they would like to see the brush cut with some new little growth start, and then they spray it, and it keeps it controlled. That's the intent. once we get there, but we can have those brush cutters out there 24 hours a day and
Not get it all done.
yeah, so it's gonna be a process. Once we get through everything once, I think at that point, if we get there, it'll be a lot easier to maintain at that point.
Well, I like the idea, and thank you for sharing that. And again, the only concern was, again, the wildlife. That's my biggest concern. We had a big problem before where these sprayers came over and they put it right out on the, swamp.
Yep.
And right up to the rails and of course the bridge. And by the way, the other one is Mr. Petrie, you mentioned about getting that done. How many days was that to be? 10 days? I think I heard you right, yeah. Thank you. And thank you again for answering questions.
No problem.
Okay, any other public comment?
Yeah, I guess. I just wanted to remind the board, we got contract negotiations coming up, so, and seemingly it appears like you're dumping truckloads of money over here in the management, filling all the positions, doing the salaries and the raises, whatever. And are the retirees still gonna come in and continue to work now that all the positions are filled?
As needed. That should be waning off.
Mm-hmm. Gotta finish getting people trained and.
How long have they been coming in for? A couple of years now?
I could speak for a year and a half, but.
Yeah. Alright. Well, anyway, I say all this to say that we are looking forward to contract negotiations and we're just looking for some meat to be left on the bone. Well, I guess that's all I got.
Okay. If there's no further public comment, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a support to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We are adjourned. Thank you.